What if the most dangerous thing you did this morning was wake up tired, shrug, and call it aging? What if that dry mouth, that morning headache, that trip to the bathroom at 3:12 a.m., that little gasp your spouse heard at 2:47, that also what if those were not harmless annoyances at all, but warnings, real warnings, the kind people miss right up until the night they don't wake up? Too many men and women over 60 are living inside a medical system built for speed. 10-minute visits, a quick blood pressure reading, maybe a pill adjustment, maybe a casual. You're getting older, sleep changes, and then you go home still exhausted, still foggy, still snoring, still waking with your heart pounding, and nobody has explained the real biological trap unfolding in the dark. If you've been feeling more tired than you should, more forgetful than you used to be, more short of breath climbing stairs, more swollen in the ankles by evening, or just strangely unrefreshed after a full night in bed, I need you to hear me very clearly. Those symptoms can cluster around one hidden problem that may raise the risk of heart attack, stroke, dangerous heart rhythm problems, and sudden death during sleep. I'm Dr. Julian Wells, and by the end of this session, you'll understand exactly why so many older adults pass away peacefully in their sleep when the body was actually fighting for oxygen all night long. And the one zero-cost thing I want you to try tonight before your head touches the pillow. A few years ago, I met a 72-year-old man named Frank, retired mail carrier, thin in the wrists, soft around the middle, the sort of man who still folded his grocery receipts into perfect squares and kept peppermint candies in the truck console even though he'd been retired for 6 years. He came in because his daughter insisted, not because of chest pain, not because he had collapsed, because he kept falling asleep in the recliner by 7:40 in the evening, and his wife, Linda, said he sounded like an engine choking. Her words, not mine. She told me, he snores, then it gets quiet, too quiet, and then he jerks like he's coming up from underwater. Frank laughed when she said it. That nervous laugh older men use when they're scared but don't want to hand fear the microphone. He said he was fine, said he'd always been a snorer, said his father snored, said his grandfather rattled the windows. He thought the real problem was getting older, maybe his metoprolol making him tired, maybe too much turkey at dinner. Then Linda reached into her purse and pulled out a notepad. She had written down dates. March 18th, woke gasping. March 26th, headache at sunrise, BP high. April 2nd, stopped breathing too many times to count. April 11th, nearly nodded off at a red light after breakfast. That room got quiet. Frank had high blood pressure, controlled, on paper, borderline diabetes, a statin he took inconsistently because it made his legs feel heavy. He had dinner late most nights, around 8:30, because he liked to eat when the news came on. 2 bourbons some evenings, not every evening, just enough to relax. He stopped drinking water after 5 p.m. because he hated getting up to urinate, and he slept flat on his back because his shoulder hurt when he rolled to the side. If you're hearing your own routine in his story, you are not alone. That's why I want you to do something right now. Put your age in the comments, and tell me whether any of these have happened to you. Loud snoring, waking with a dry mouth, morning headaches, bathroom trips at night, nodding off in a chair, or someone telling you that you stopped breathing. I read those comments because they tell me what rushed appointments often miss. Frank's biggest fear was not death. That surprised me. His biggest fear was stroke. He whispered it when Linda stepped out to answer a call. I don't want to live and be helpless, he said. I watched my brother after his stroke. Couldn't button a shirt. Couldn't get to the toilet in time. My daughter has enough on her plate. I won't do that to them. That sentence, I won't do that to them, sits inside millions of older adults. They're not only afraid of dying, they're afraid of not dying, of surviving in pieces. So we ran the questions doctors should ask more often. Did he wake unrefreshed? Yes. Did he ever wake choking? Yes. Morning blood pressure higher than expected? Yes. Memory slipping? Yes. Nighttime urination? Twice, sometimes 3 times. Did he need naps? Constantly. Did his wife observe breathing pauses? Emphatically yes. His sleep study came back with obstructive sleep apnea. Not subtle, not harmless. His oxygen level dropped low enough, often enough, to turn every night into a stress test. And here's what shook him. He had assumed snoring was noise. It was injury. His body was not resting. It was surviving. Picture your throat at night as an old, soft garden hose. During the day, the muscles around it hold it open, air moves, quietly, reliably. But when sleep arrives, especially deeper sleep, especially after alcohol, sedatives, or sheer exhaustion, those muscles loosen. In many older adults, age has already thinned the muscle tone. Tissues sag a little more. The jaw may fall back. The tongue settles backward. If there's even a little extra tissue around the neck, a little nasal blockage, a little congestion, or if you sleep flat on your back, that hose narrows or pinches shut. Now air can't pass well. Sometimes it stops, for 10 seconds, 20, 30, longer. Your oxygen starts falling, not metaphorically, literally. Like a furnace starved of air, your blood, which should be carrying steady oxygen to your brain, heart, kidneys, and vessel walls, suddenly carries less. Cells do not like this. The brain hates it. The heart hates it. So the brain hits the alarm. Adrenaline surges. Cortisol rises. Blood pressure snaps upward. Your heart rate may lurch. Your chest strains to suck against a blocked airway, creating powerful negative pressure, and lift, like trying to drink a milkshake through a straw someone is pinching closed. Over and over. All night. Then you partially wake, E4, often so briefly you never remember it, just enough to reopen the airway. You snort, gasp, turn, breathe again. Then the cycle restarts. This can happen dozens of times an hour, not a night, an hour, and every one of those episodes is a tiny assault. Think of your arteries as older plumbing, decades of wear, some stiffening, maybe plaque here and there, like gunk lining the inside of a pipe. They are not fresh factory tubing anymore. They are old garden hoses, left in the sun, less flexible, more brittle, easier to crack under pressure. Now imagine someone slamming the water pressure up and down all night long. That is what untreated sleep apnea can do. Oxygen crashes are heavily linked to oxidative stress, biological rust. Stress hormones can trigger inflammatory heat, biological fire. Vessel linings may become irritated, roughened, and more vulnerable. Plaques can become less stable, blood may become more likely to clot, and the heart's electrical wiring, which depends on a steady chemical environment and steady oxygen supply, can become easier to short out. That's where arrhythmias enter the story. Some people think a heart attack is the only nighttime threat. It isn't. A dangerous rhythm problem can strike faster, and often more silently. The heart can flicker instead of pump. It can race chaotically. It can pause at the wrong time. In people with sleep apnea, especially when oxygen dips hard, the risk of these rhythm disturbances climbs. There's another piece most people never hear. Your body is already more vulnerable in the late night and early morning. Around those hours, you've gone several hours without fluids. Blood may become a bit thicker, especially in older adults who naturally feel less thirst. Cortisol begins its early morning rise. If you ate heavily late, digestion is still competing for blood flow and metabolic attention. If you drank alcohol, airway muscles may be even slacker. If you took a sedative, your brain may be slower to rescue you from an airway collapse. That can create the perfect storm: less oxygen, more pressure, thicker blood, stiffer arteries, an older electrical system, and fewer people awake to help. One major study following more than 10,000 adults found that certain sleep apnea markers were strongly linked to sudden cardiac death. Not just bad sleep, not just annoyance, death. And in people whose oxygen levels dipped especially low, the risk rose sharply. Another line of research in older adults showed severe sleep apnea tied to a much higher stroke risk, roughly 2 to 3 times in some analyses. Now here is the part many channels skim over. It's not only the number of apnea episodes that matters. It's how low your oxygen goes. That is the hidden damage meter. Two people can both be told they have mild or moderate sleep apnea and still live very different biological nights. One has brief shallow disruptions. Another drops oxygen deeply, repeatedly, into a range that batters vessel walls and heart tissue. The report may say one thing. The body may be experiencing something far uglier. That matters because many older adults have been reassured too quickly. It's mild. Just lose a little weight. Just try sleeping better. But aging changes the equation. An airway event that might be tolerated better at 42 can be far more dangerous at 72 if you also have hypertension, plaque, prediabetes, atrial fibrillation risk, kidney strain, or s- And there's still one more missing piece, the one almost nobody explains well, because the event itself doesn't wait for daytime logic. It follows a clock pattern. In people without sleep apnea, sudden cardiac events often cluster more in the morning. In people with obstructive sleep apnea, the pattern shifts into the night, especially between midnight and 6 a.m. That means the biology of apnea is not just adding risk in general, it is moving danger directly into the hours when you are alone, horizontal, dehydrated, and least likely to get rapid help. That unseen timing, that midnight to dawn shift, is where this subject becomes deeply personal. Let me show you the gap. Standard advice says lose weight, maybe use CPAP, avoid alcohol, sleep on your side. That's good advice, but it is incomplete for an aging body. Because the real issue isn't simply snoring volume or body size. It's the combination of oxygen crashes, plus nighttime blood thickening, plus vessel stiffness, plus electrical instability. That stack is what can make even, not too bad, apnea dangerous in seniors. I've seen older adults who were not dramatically overweight, not huge snorers by family standards, not classic textbook cases, the tame was Reach's, and still their oxygen was dropping enough to create a real cardiovascular threat. Why? Because after 60, throat muscle tone weakens, reflexes are slower, the airway is easier to collapse. Medications stack the odds. A pain pill, an antihistamine, a sleeping tablet, even evening alcohol. Each one can loosen the very muscles that need to stay firm. And then there's back sleeping. Simple, common, overlooked. When you sleep flat on your back, gravity pulls the tongue and soft tissues backward. In some people, that alone can turn a moderate problem into a severe one. This is where many families miss the danger. They think the snoring is worst on his back, as if that makes it less serious. No, that may be the clue that position is amplifying the obstruction. Another overlooked factor is late eating. Competitors mention digestion. Fair enough. But the bigger issue for seniors is that a heavy meal near bedtime can increase reflux, abdominal pressure, and nighttime sympathetic activation. Translation: more irritation, more airway instability, more blood pressure trouble, more fragmented sleep, and more strain during the exact window when apnea already thrives. Add dehydration because you stopped drinking at dinner, and blood may become more sluggish by 4 a.m. Now imagine a vulnerable plaque sitting inside a coronary artery like a crusted patch inside old plumbing, not fully blocking flow, just sitting there. Then come repeated oxygen drops, repeated blood pressure surges, inflammatory sparks, thicker blood, and perhaps a brief arrhythmia. That plaque can rupture, a clot can form, or a vessel in the brain can block, or the heart's rhythm can simply fail. That is how someone can look fine at 10 p.m. and be gone by sunrise. And this is why I get frustrated when people say, "But my doctor didn't seem worried." Often your doctor is working inside a rushed system. They may focus on daytime numbers because daytime numbers are easy to collect. The catastrophe, however, is happening in the dark where the cuff is off, the questions were never asked, and the spouse's observations got waved away. Here's the high net gain fact I want burned into your memory. In sleep apnea, the depth of nighttime oxygen desaturation and the shift of sudden cardiac death into midnight to 6 a.m. hours may matter even more than people realize from a simple snoring story or a label like mild. That means if you are older, your partner hears pauses, and you wake with headache, dry mouth, panic, or pounding heart, you should not wait for a dramatic collapse to take this seriously. The climax is close, because once you understand that risk stack, the nightly fix becomes much clearer. So what is the thing I am begging you to stop? Stop going to bed on your back, late, dried out, and under-evaluated for sleep apnea. That's the trap. And here is the exact evening protocol I want you to try. First, finish dinner at least 3 hours before bed. If you aim to sleep at 10, finish by 7. Keep that meal moderate, not a feast. Lean protein, vegetables, and a sensible portion of starch if you tolerate it well. Skip the heavy fried meal, giant dessert, and alcohol close to bedtime. If you want something small later, keep it light. Second, hydrate in the daytime on purpose, not by panic chugging right before bed. For most older adults, that means steady fluids through the afternoon, then only a modest amount in the evening. About 1 small glass of water, roughly 6 to 8 ounces, in the hour before bed is reasonable for many people, unless your physician has you on fluid restriction for heart or kidney failure. If that applies to you, follow your doctor's rules. But do not spend the entire evening dried out just to avoid the bathroom. Third, sleep on your side tonight, not next month. Tonight. If you keep rolling onto your back, put a tennis ball or rolled sock in a pocket or pouch on the back of your sleep shirt. It sounds old-fashioned because it is old-fashioned. It also works. Another option is a pillow behind your back or a wedge that keeps you tilted. Even a modest head-of-bed elevation can help some people, especially if reflux is part of the picture. Fourth, if your nose is blocked, address that before bed so you can breathe through your nose more easily. Gentle saline rinse if your doctor says it's safe. Reduce bedroom irritants. Keep the room cool, around 65 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Not freezing, not stuffy. Excessive heat can increase fluid loss and may worsen sleep quality. Fifth, if you need a calming evening snack, choose something that does not weigh the body down. A small portion, about 15 to 30 grams, of walnuts or pumpkin seeds can fit well for many people. They offer magnesium and healthy fats that may support vascular health and relaxation without the metabolic chaos of cake, chips, or greasy leftovers. Sixth, and this is not optional if the signs fit you, ask for sleep apnea screening. If your spouse has seen breathing pauses, if you wake gasping, if you have morning headaches, stubborn high blood pressure, atrial fibrillation, daytime sleepiness, or you nod off after breakfast, ask directly for a sleep study. Use plain words. I'm concerned about obstructive sleep apnea and cardiovascular risk. Do not minimize it. Do not call it just snoring. Seventh, if you are diagnosed and prescribed CPAP, oral appliance therapy, or another treatment, give it a real trial. Not 2 annoyed nights. A real trial. Yes, CPAP can feel awkward at first. So did bifocals. So did hearing aids. The issue is not glamour. The issue is oxygen. And now, the one zero-cost thing I promised at the beginning, the thing I want you to do tonight, even if you do nothing else, is this. Do not sleep flat on your back. Turn onto your side before you fall asleep, and make it harder for your body to roll back. That one positional change will not cure true sleep apnea, and it does not replace proper testing or treatment. But for many older adults, it can reduce airway collapse immediately, reduce snoring intensity, reduce oxygen dips, and buy your body a safer night while you take the next steps. Within your first 3 to 5 mornings of doing this, you may notice a shift. That morning headache, faded. That sandpaper dry mouth, gone. You might actually wake up feeling like your body actually got a chance to rest, rather than fight a silent war in the dark. That is the promise. Not a miracle pill, not a gimmick. A zero-cost mechanical change that can matter tonight. If you remember nothing else, remember this. The body you take to bed is the body that fights for oxygen in the dark. Give it less work, less pressure, less obstruction, less dehydration, less late digestive strain. And if the warning signs are there, do not settle for being told it's just age. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be alert. You need to take your own symptoms seriously before they become someone else's sad story at sunrise. Share this with the person who snores beside you. Share it with your brother who falls asleep in the chair. And make sure you subscribe, because in our next session, I am going to show you exactly why that healthy bowl of morning oatmeal might be the exact reason your joints ache by 2 p.m. Take control tonight. Your heart is still listening. Disclaimer. The information provided in this presentation is for education